The context setting was very confusing when I started as a Qlik Sense admin. I mean, the word context, it's so unintuitive, at least when creating a security role. Also, the idea of granting one user access to, for example, one set of apps in the hub and then a different set of apps in QMC didn't make sense. I mean, why would we want to do that, right? So let's take a closer look at this thing that Qlik decided to call context, get a real use case for granting a user access to one set of apps in the hub and then a different set of apps in QMC, and get a better understanding of what exactly is the context setting. Let's start by answering the question, which is it possible to, for example, give one user access to different apps in QMC and in the hub? And the answer is yes, it's possible. Let's see an example of that. I have set up these three rules to give myself access to different apps in QMC and in the hub. The first rule gives me access to these two apps in QMC. Then I also have this rule to give me access to the app section of QMC, so I could actually see the apps in QMC. The third rule gives me access to the PostgreSQL Insights app in the hub. So with these three rules, I'll see one app in the hub and then two different apps in QMC. Let's see if that's how that actually looks. I'll go ahead and switch to my user PC, and let's start with the hub. If I open up the hub and go to the server administration stream, I can see the PostgreSQL Insights app. And if I click on it, I'll be able to open it without issues, just as expected. Now, let's go to QMC and see what I have access to there. Okay, so I can see the app section. That's good. And if I go to the app section, I can see the other two apps that I allowed myself to see in QMC. Notice that I can't see the PostgreSQL Insights app. Even though I gave myself access to it, I can only see it in the hub. Moreover, if I click on one of these apps, which will open it in the hub, I'll get this access is denied error message. That confirms that when we set context to be only in QMC, we will only be able to access the resources in QMC. And if we'll set the context to be only in the hub, we will only be able to see and access those resources in the hub. And of course, if we'll set the context to be both, we'll see the resources in both locations. So there you go. This shows that it is possible to control access to apps and other Qlik Sense resources in a hub and separately in QMC. And the context setting is the setting that is used to control that. Now, the next question, and perhaps the main question, is when would we ever want to give user access to different apps or other resources in QMC versus the hub? In most cases, we don't. The one real example that you may come across is a manager needing to be able to use the audit section in QMC to see who has access to what. In order to make that happen, the manager would need to be given access to all apps, all streams, all data connections, and other things, but only in QMC. In the hub, they likely would have a more limited access. Let's see what that would look like. I'll jump back to my test server and filter for the auditor rules that I've created earlier. These two rules give a user with the auditor role access to the audit section of QMC and to a bunch of resources also only in QMC. Let's jump to the user section, and I'll assign myself the auditor role. Here's my user account, and I'll go ahead and assign the auditor role and click apply. Now, if I jump back to my user PC, close and reopen QMC and go to the app section, notice that I now have access to all apps. It's a small list, but those are in fact all of the apps that I have on my test server. Now, if I go back, since I assign myself the auditor role, I now have access to the audit section. So let's go to the audit section and audit app access. Notice that I can see all of the apps and all of the users, and if I select a user and an app, I can even see which security rules give this user access to this particular app. So I have full access to all auditable resources. But if I jump back to the hub, close it and reopen it, I still see only one app. So that's the real example that you may need to set up. You may need to give user, like a manager or a team lead, ability to see all resources in QMC, but only a limited access in the hub. That's where context setting becomes useful. Now, if you're thinking, I don't know if I'd use the term context to describe what this setting does, I agree with you. In fact, I think Qlik agrees with you also. Here's what I mean. If you jump to the security rules section, they call it context. Then if you jump to the audit section, it's called environment. And that's been like that for as long as I can remember. At least since 2018. For what it's worth, I think access point would be a better name. If we say select the access point to the resources that this rule applies to, only in hub, only in QMC, or in both locations. That kind of makes sense, right? Compared to select the context of the resources that this rule controls. That's just confusing. Anyway, that's all I have for you today. Let me know what you think. Would you name this setting something else? And if yes, what would you name it? I'll look for your answers in the comments. And in the meantime, I'll see you in the next video.